Ich darf jetzt, während Sie langsam in die Breakout-Sessions verschwinden, die nächste Keynote-Sprecherin vorstellen. Professorin Berta Vall von der Fondation Blanquerna. Sie spricht zum Thema Consent über die Bekämpfung des frühen Online-Zugangs zu sexuell eindeutigem Material und Förderung von Instrumenten zur Stärkung gesunder, intimer Beziehungen bei Jugendlichen. Berta Vall ist assoziierte Professorin an der Ramon Llull Universität in Blanquerna in Spanien. Sie promovierte als klinische Psychologin und forscht zu den Themen Gewalt in Paarbeziehungen. Als Forschungsmanagerin arbeitet sie im European Network Work with Perpetrators zur Arbeit mit TäterInnen. Sie verfügt daher über umfassende Fachkenntnisse in der Forschung und Datenanalyse im Bereich genderbasierte Gewalt. Berta Vall ist außerdem Koordinatin des Consent-Projekts und dessen Konsortiums. We're looking forward to the next 20 minutes listening to your keynote. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for this introduction and thanks for the organization of this really interesting event. I'm really happy to be able to present our the work that we have been doing for the last year on this project, on the consent project. I think it has some interesting outputs and activities that we are still developing, but for sure I think that we can find a lot of connections with the different presentations that have been introduced so far this morning. So first I wanted to explain that this project, the consent project, is still running. So for the moment we don't have yet a lot of results available, but we have some activities, the definition of some activities, and we have also some analyses related to the needs assessment that we have conducted during the project that I think can be very interesting for the audience today. So I will now already start with the presentation. This is just a reminder of the full, let's say, title of the project. So the acronym, the short title of the project is Consent, because we wanted to emphasize the development of consensual relationship, sexual consensual relationships among youngsters. But the full title of the project is this one that you can see here: Combating Online Early Access to Sexually Explicit Material and Enhancing Tools to Foster Youngsters' Healthy Intimate Relationships. So this is the full title of the project. This project, as I was saying, has received funding from the European Commission. It was funded, and we started in February 2022. So it's been now, more or less 1 year that we have been working on the project, and it will finish in February 2024. So more or less within 1 year. This is the budget of the project. And as you can see here, we have different partners in the consortium. Fundación Blanquerna, which is my university, we are coordinating the whole project. Then we have also as a partner Unison from Sweden. Unison is an NGO. It's a service for victims of domestic violence, and they have extensive experience on the work related to sexualized violence. We also have CAM, the Centro di Ascolto agli Uomini Maltrattanti. This NGO is based in Italy, and this NGO provides treatment for perpetrators of domestic violence. Then we also have Connexus, which is a Spanish association that offers treatment to both victims of domestic violence and also perpetrators of domestic violence. We also have in the consortium the European Network for the Work with Perpetrators of Domestic Violence. And as you might already know, this network is an umbrella organization that has as members perpetrator programs that are distributed around Europe. And then we also have Kaspersky. This Kaspersky is an IT company, and it was really interesting for us to include also the perspective of IT security, online security in the topic of the project. So as you can see, we have different expertise. We have research associations, we have NGOs, and we also have IT experts that and we came together and developed the activities of the project. So the background of the project, why did we want to focus on combating the early access to pornography as a way to preventing sexualized violence among youngsters? Well, first, because we know that pornography is an industry that normalizes violent and abusive attitudes towards women. There is a lot of content that use online content, especially the mainstream pornography, that uses aggression, degradation, and sexual objectification of women. The UNICEF stated that during the COVID-19 crisis, children and adolescents have increased their online activity. And this has had an implication, which is that the pornography consumption among youngsters and adolescents has been increasing, and it had a tremendous rise during the COVID-19 crisis and thereafter. So with all of this information and data, we thought that we were in need to raise awareness and also enhance the role of parents, caregivers, and teachers, educators in developing the children's skills to increase their safety and security. So we conducted a needs analysis when we were trying to build the project and the different activities that we wanted to include in the project. And for example, we were reading a lot of reports. We read Kaspersky's report, and in this report, it was described that more than 1/4 of parents that had children from 7 to 12 years old thought that the most important risk that their children were facing online was the access to violent or sexual content. So we saw that this is really something that it's a worry for parents. And we also, in the same UNICEF and EU Kids online reports, there was also pointed out that parents and caregivers should set the boundaries to establish in order to mitigate the effects of accessing this kind of risky or violent content. Therefore, because of these two issues that I have mentioned, we thought that there is the need to raise awareness of parents and caregivers about the easy access to pornography by youngsters and its effects. So for us, it was really important that parents and caregivers would be aware of the risks of early access to online pornography, but also of the tools that they could use in order to prevent this early access. So this was one of the first objectives of our project. Then also focusing on the two implementing countries. So the activities have been implemented in Spain and in Italy. We looked at the data that we had nationally in each of the countries, and we in the Spanish Ministry of Equality detected that nearly 60% of the teachers did not feel skilled to work on gender-based violence prevention, and 26% thought that this was not their function or their task. So we see here that in Spain, more than half of the professors do not feel prepared to work on gender-based violence prevention in the school with their class, and also nearly 1/3 think that this is not really their task. And in Italy, we saw that 36 children received information about sex, talking basically with friends. So when children want to know information about sex, they mainly talk with friends. 25% did not speak with anyone. 18% found information on internet. And we saw also that in Italy, 24% of teens look at information in pornographic movies. So we see here again, one of the second main aim of our project, that we thought that we need to improve also the knowledge of teachers and educators about this phenomenon, because we really think that they can make a change working on prevention within the class context. And finally, we also looked at the consumption of pornography, and Save the Children developed a report that concluded that 17% of the adolescents between the age of 13 and 17 years old have accidentally accessed online pornography. And that means that they have accessed some kind of sexually explicit material, video recordings, but accidentally. And also we thought that for this reason, there is a need to raise awareness of the youngsters about gender stereotypes and roles. So what kind of gender stereotypes are these pornography movies reproducing? And also about consent, so sexual consent. Is consent present in these movies? How we can have consent in our healthy relationships, etc. We want these youngsters to become critical agents, and we want also to involve public institutions in our project. So I will explain a little bit how we are planning to do that. So the main aims of the project, I have already mentioned them through the needs that we have detected, but basically we want to address negative impacts of pornography on children and youth, and we will do this by promoting healthy gender roles in youngsters, preventing all forms of gender-based violence, especially in youngsters, and hindering the internet's impact on premature sexualization. So, what is the structure of the project? How is the project structured and divided? So we have 5 main work packages. We have 5 main dimensions of work. The first work package is the project management and coordination, and this is basically it involves basically the coordination tasks of the project, and this has a duration of 24 months, so the whole project. Then at the beginning of the project, this is a task that has already finished. In the first 6 months of the project, we did some capacity building for all the partners. So we had Unison, the NGO in Sweden, as one of the main experts on preventing the impact of pornography consumption in youngsters. So Unison did a capacity building and training for the rest of the partners, the rest of the NGOs in Italy and Spain that then have to implement the activities. This has already finished. Then we have work package 3, the capacity building implementation for parents, caregivers, and teachers, educators. And that's basically here what we want to do is to do the trainings, so to train parents, caregivers, and teachers, educators on gender roles, sexual consent, and pornography consumption, and IT security. And this is something that we have just finished now. I will explain a little bit also the target numbers that we have reached. And finally, we have work package 4, in which we are now in the process of developing a sex-affective education program for youngsters. And we will be implementing this program in the next months of the project. And finally, we have the last work package 5, in which we focus on dissemination and communication. I will explain now a little bit more in detail each of these work packages, but I want to focus mainly on the outputs, on the activities, and the different resources that you will be able to download from the webpage of the project. So basically, we can divide the main outputs or the main activities in 3. The training for adults, parents, caregivers, teachers, educators, the training for youngsters, and the dissemination and communication campaign. So in the training for adults, we have conducted a needs assessment. So we asked parents, caregivers, and teachers, educators to answer some questionnaires. And also we did some focus groups with them in order to kind of be able to target our training more to the specific needs of these professionals in each of the countries. Then with the results of the needs assessment, we developed the manual to conduct the training for adults, and then we implemented the training. So let's see a little bit the results for each of these activities. So the needs assessment we conducted in Italy and in Spain, and these are the descriptive information of the sample. So who participated in this needs assessment? We had parents and teachers, as you can see, more or less in similar number. The mean age of the participants is around 45 years old. Most of the participants were females, as usually it happens. So especially in the teachers field, both in Italy and in Spain, most of the teachers are female, so that's quite an expected result. And in terms of parents, in this sample, more women wanted to participate. And as you can see, for both countries, we have more or less a similar distribution. So basically, what are the needs that we identified? Basically, we identified that both adults, so parents and teachers, said that they needed tools to combat these online risks, especially how to prevent the access to pornography. They also said that they had a lack of knowledge about existing prevention tools for minors. They also said that they lack a previous IT online security training, so they haven't received any training around some kind of online security. They also said that the main dangers of internet for them was that the minors, the children, according to the adults, are not mature enough to identify and critically assess the dangers that they can face online, for example, access to sexually explicit material. And they also said that the most prevalent negative online experience of the children was watching pornography or watching violence involuntarily. In terms of pornography, the needs that the adults mentioned basically is that they needed tools to talk about pornography. They didn't have enough training on affective sexual education. Both parents and teachers in both countries feel more prepared to discuss about online security than to discuss about pornography with their children. Boys are considered by parents and teachers in both countries as earlier porn users than girls, with an age range about 11 years old. So in both countries, 11 years old is the age that parents thought that the pornography consumption starts. So in general, it seems that Spanish parents and teachers were more concerned about minors' use of porn than Italian parents and teachers. And in general, teachers in both countries tend to perceive the earlier access to pornography, tend to perceive as more risky this access to pornography. And they also think that the pornography consumption happens more frequently when we compare it to the parents. So it seems that the teachers have more this kind of risky view of the situation than the parents. So in terms of affective sexual education, as you can see here, basically the result is that they lack a lot of education, previous education, the adults, and also that in terms of communication with the children, the parents think that there is the need to enhance communication about positive aspects of sexuality, because basically they say that basically they talk about pregnancy, prevention, and all the other risks associated to sexual activities. So basically, when we ask about what makes it you difficult to talk about sexuality with your children or with your student, basically we can see that the first difficulty that they have is that they don't have reference, they don't have models on how to talk about sexuality with the children. They also say that they lack knowledge and tools, and not having had sexual communication during my childhood or adolescence. And if we ask them, what are you worried? Why don't you talk with your children and and pupils about sexuality. What that worries you? What is preventing you to talk about that? So first of all, they are worried that they might cause confusion in the youngsters if they talk about these topics, and that they might arouse their sexual curiosity or their desire if they talk about these things. So these are the needs assessment that we did, and it gave us a lot of information about the main worries, the main challenges, and the main needs that the adults had in order to be able to conduct, to discuss about sexuality with their children or their students. Then we started to develop the manual. So we have developed a manual for conducting the training with the adults, in which we have all the different activities and all the theoretical contents. This manual is now being tested. We are now evaluating the manual, and it will be available in the webpage of the project in about 1 or 2 months. And the idea is that it's available in English, Swedish, Spanish, and Italian. And the idea is that it can be replicated and used in other countries. So in terms of implementation, now we have just now finished the training pilot. So we have been testing the manual, and we have been checking how did the adults receive this training. In total, we have 350 parents participating in both countries, with Italy and Spain. So we are now gathering the results and analyzing the results of the evaluation of this implementation. But mainly what we have seen is that all the parents think that this training has been very useful. And also in terms of teachers, educators, we promised that we would have around 40-50 teachers, educators participating in the training, but we had a lot of interest, and currently we have more than 150 teachers that have done this training. So there is here we can see the need to receive this training, because they really were motivated and participating in it. So if we focus on the second main output or activities, the emotional education program for youngsters, here I will explain the consent gamified assessment tool, the consent emotional and sexuality education program and toolkit, and the implementation of it. So basically, the consent gamified assessment tool, this is a tool that we have been developing together with Kaspersky, with the IT company. And this tool is a very nice gamified tool that we want to use so that the youngsters can self-assess their knowledge about the risks of online pornography consumption. We also include risks related to sexting or the non-consensual sharing of images. So we have included a broad variety of risks that combine online access and sexual aspects, and it's we think it's going to be a very interesting tool then also to be replicated in other countries, because it's like a game for the youngsters. So they are playing a game, but at the same time we can assess if they are aware of these risks or not. So we are now in the process of finalizing the design of this tool. We have selected the different scenarios, the graphic design and everything, and now it's about to be finished, and we will test it when we implement the program, the emotional education for the students. So in terms of the consent emotional and sexual education program, in order to be able to develop this program and to make it as close to the needs of the youngsters as possible, we have done focus groups with youngsters before developing the manual, in which we ask them which are the main needs that they have in terms of knowledge and so on. And also we have created the youth advisory panel meetings, and those meetings are basically meetings with from 6 to 10 youngsters from different ages, because this toolkit is targeted to children that from 10 to 16 years old. So we have participants from all of these ages in the youth advisory panels, and we will do 6 meetings with them. We have now done the 3 first meetings before implementing the educational program with them. And then while we are implementing the educational program, we will do a meeting during the program and at the end to gather the feedback. These have proved very useful because you know that sometimes you do activities for youngsters without counting on them. But this we got a lot of information about their needs and what they think it's going to work. The activities, we present them the activities that we plan to do in the educational program, and they give us feedback if they think that they will work or not. So this has been really useful. And another thing that we are doing also parallelly is that we are co-constructing this toolkit with the teachers that then will have to implement it. So the same teachers that received the training in the first part of the activity of the project now are collaborating with us, and they are giving us feedback of the contents of the educational program for the youngsters. And the idea is that then the professors will implement this training, this emotional and sexuality education program with their students. So again, this idea of helping the teachers really make the contents, integrate the contents in their practice, and we want them to feel that the contents are meaningful for them. So that's why we are doing this co-construction together with them of the contents. And we also want to ensure feasibility so that the contents are implemented also after the project has finished. So in terms of implementation, our objective is to reach approximately 300-400 youngsters in total that will go through this emotional education program. We are now trying to finalize the manual and doing all these activities with the professors and the youth advisory panels. And the schools will start implementing this training after Easter, so at the beginning of April. And we will have more results on the evaluation of this training, and also the manual and everything will be available in our website. So the last activity that I wanted to review today is the Consent Youth campaign for critical agents, and also the Adult Readiness campaign, and also the Consent Institutional recommendations. So basically, with this activity, we want to disseminate about the project results and the project objectives. And we will develop 2 dissemination campaigns, and this will happen towards in the last 6 months of the project. So we are now in the process of elaborating the guidelines for these campaigns. One campaign will be focused on the youngsters, and another campaign will be focused on adults. The campaign with the youngsters, we plan to use also the gamified assessment tool, so that a way to disseminate about our project and our activities will be to disseminate about this gamified self-assessment tool, in which the youngsters will be able to assess their own knowledge about these topics and the risks of these topics in a playful way. So this will happen, as I was saying, in the last 6 months of the project, and we are now in the process of developing all the activities. And then we also, as I was saying, we really want the cooperation of the institutions, so education institutions and different types of policymakers. So we will also develop institutional recommendations on how to implement, include, or integrate these educational programs in the curriculums of the different educational curriculums of the different countries. And we also want to do recommendations on how to run these type of campaigns, so as to be able to engage youngsters on the campaigns. Okay, so I think that I was more or less on time. This is everything from my side. Here you have my email if you want to receive more information about the project. Here you have all the logos of the different partners that I had been mentioning. Also, as I was saying, this is a project that has not been finished yet, so I wanted to explain today the activities that we are planning and some of the needs assessment results that we have obtained. But as soon as we have some resources available, we always include them in the website. So please don't hesitate to also check our website for more information or for the resources. Thank you very much.